What if I told you most people die at 60 but aren't buried until 80? They stop growing, they stop adapting, and they let stress slowly consume their lives. Science now confirms something powerful. Chronic anger, resentment, fear, and emotional chaos do not just destroy your peace, they literally shorten your lifespan. But here is what no one tells you. The Stoics understood this more than 2,000 years ago. Marcus Aurelius was not just writing philosophy, he was writing survival instructions for the human nervous system. Now imagine adding 10, 15, maybe even 20 years to your life, not through biohacking or expensive supplements, but through disciplined thinking. What if mastering your reactions lowers cortisol? What if emotional detachment protects your heart? What if resilience strengthens your immune system? This is not motivation. This is biological advantage. Today I will show you 8 Stoic life lessons that do not just make you stronger, they help you last longer. Because when you upgrade your mindset, you upgrade your lifespan, and the clock is already ticking. Lesson 1. Guard your mind at dawn. If you want to add 15 years to your life, do not start with your diet. Do not start with your gym membership. Do not even start with your doctor. Start with the first 5 minutes after you wake up, because that is where most people quietly shorten their lifespan. Imagine this. Your alarm goes off. Before your eyes are fully open, your hand reaches for your phone. Notifications, news, someone arguing online, someone richer than you, someone angrier than you, a crisis happening in a country you cannot influence. Within 60 seconds, your nervous system is activated. Cortisol rises, your heart rate increases, your brain scans for threat, and you call this starting your day. Marcus Aurelius ruled an empire while plagues, wars, and betrayal surrounded him. Yet he wrote this in his private journal. The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts, not the quality of your circumstances, not the quality of other people, the quality of your thoughts. Modern neuroscience confirms what Stoics understood 2,000 years ago. The first thoughts of your morning set the tone for your autonomic nervous system. If your first input is stress, your body reacts as if danger is present. Chronic activation of stress hormones has been linked to cardiovascular disease, immune dysfunction, and even accelerated cellular aging through telomere shortening. That means your morning scroll is not harmless, it is biological. Now pause with me. Take one slow breath. Inhale, hold, exhale. Say this with me. I choose what enters my mind. Again, I choose what enters my mind. This is not motivational fluff. It is neurological protection. Most people do not die from a single dramatic event. They erode from accumulated stress. And the morning is where stress either begins or is prevented. The Stoic practice is simple but powerful. Before you consume the world, command yourself. Marcus wrote, when you wake up in the morning, tell yourself, the people I deal with today will be meddling, ungrateful, arrogant, dishonest, jealous, and surly. Notice what he did. He pre-framed reality. He did not expect perfection. He expected friction. And because he expected it, he was not shocked by it. Shock drains life. Preparedness preserves it. Research in behavioral psychology shows that anticipatory stress is often more damaging than the event itself. When you mentally rehearse frustration, your body reacts as if it is already happening. But when you prepare calmly, you reduce emotional volatility. Reduced volatility equals lower chronic stress load. Let me give you a scenario. 2 men wake up on the same morning. Both face a difficult meeting at 10 a.m. The first wakes up scrolling headlines, reading about inflation, political chaos, and celebrity scandal. His brain is flooded before breakfast. By 9:45 a.m., he is already irritable. His reaction to criticism is defensive. His blood pressure spikes. The second man wakes up and sits for 3 minutes. He breathes. He asks himself, what is within my control today? My preparation, my tone, my discipline. What is outside my control? Their mood, their opinion, the outcome. By 10 a.m., he is steady. The meeting is identical. The biology is not. Over decades, that difference compounds. Now reset again. Slow breath in, slow breath out. Say it softly. Calm is longevity. Because it is. Studies from Harvard and Stanford have shown that chronic stress increases the risk of heart disease by up to 40%. Chronic anger episodes increase stroke risk. Poor sleep linked to stress correlates with metabolic dysfunction. And what triggers daily stress faster than anything? Unfiltered mental input at dawn. Marcus Aurelius did not have social media, but he had something worse: political chaos and war. Yet he trained his mind before the world trained it for him. So here is the practice. For the next 7 days, do not touch your phone for the first 10 minutes of your morning. Instead, ask 3 Stoic questions. What must I do today with excellence? What might challenge me today? How will I respond with virtue? Then visualize one potential frustration calmly, not angrily, calmly. This is called premeditatio malorum, the premeditation of adversity. It reduces emotional shock. It builds resilience. Another breath. Inhale. Exhale. Say with me, I train before the world attacks, because that is what this is. Training. Most people think longevity is about adding supplements. Stoicism teaches that longevity begins by subtracting chaos. When you guard your morning, you guard your nervous system. When you guard your nervous system, you guard your heart. When you guard your heart, you guard your years. And here is something uncomfortable. If you cannot control the first 5 minutes of your day, you will not control the next 5 years of your life. That may sting. Good. Growth often does. Marcus also wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." Notice the precision. Power over your mind, not over politics, not over markets, not over traffic, over your mind. And the morning is the battlefield. Now imagine living 30 years where every single day begins in reactivity. That is thousands of mornings of elevated cortisol, thousands of mornings of comparison, thousands of mornings of irritation before sunrise. Now imagine 30 years of guarded mornings, calm beginnings, intentional framing, controlled expectation. Which version of you lives longer? Which version of you feels younger at 60? Here is the uncomfortable truth. Stress does not just shorten lifespan, it shortens patience, it shortens relationships, it shortens joy. When you start the day calm, you do not just add years, you add depth to the years you already have. Pause again. Breathe. Say this: I control my morning. One more time. I control my morning. If you master this one habit, you reduce baseline anxiety. You improve decision-making. You reduce impulsive reactions. And that cascade changes your entire health trajectory. But this is only the first lesson. Because even if you master your morning, there is something far more dangerous that steals years faster than stress: anger. And in the next lesson, we are going to confront the most expensive emotion you carry. Before we move forward, commit to this. Tomorrow morning, 10 minutes, no phone. Train your mind before the world trains it for you. If this lesson awakens something in you, do not let it fade into passive agreement. Subscribe to Making Life Better, because this is not entertainment. It is discipline training. And prepare yourself. The next lesson might challenge you more than you expect. Lesson 2. Stop paying for insults with your lifespan. If I told you that every time you lose your temper, you shorten your life, would you still think anger is power? Picture this. Someone disrespects you. A comment, a tone, a look. Your chest tightens. Your jaw locks. Your heartbeat accelerates. In less than 3 seconds, your body prepares for war. And the person who insulted you, they walk away barely thinking about it, but your body continues fighting for the next hour. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injury." Notice what he did not say. He did not say, suppress your anger. He did not say, pretend you are not hurt. He said, choose not to become like them, because anger is expensive. Let me show you how expensive. Studies published in the European Heart Journal show that within 2 hours of an intense anger episode, the risk of heart attack increases nearly fivefold. Fivefold. Stroke risk increases significantly as well. Chronic anger correlates with elevated blood pressure, inflammation, weakened immune response, and disrupted sleep cycles. Now pause with me. Slow breath in, slow breath out. Say this quietly: anger cost me years. Again, anger cost me years. Most people think anger hurts relationships. That is true, but they underestimate what it does to biology. When you explode, your body releases adrenaline and cortisol. Your blood vessels constrict. Your blood thickens. Your heart beats faster. This response is useful if you are facing a tiger. It is destructive when you are facing a comment section. And here is the brutal truth. Most modern anger is ego-driven, not survival-driven. Someone questions your competence. Someone ignores your message. Someone gets credit you think you deserved. The ego interprets this as threat, but it is not a threat to your survival. It is a threat to your image. An image is not worth your lifespan. Marcus Aurelius ruled over betrayal, political sabotage, and public criticism. Yet he wrote, "When another blames you or hates you, or people voice similar criticisms, go to their souls, penetrate inside and see what sort of people they are." He was not saying excuse wrongdoing. He was saying understand it. Understanding reduces emotional shock. Let me give you a scenario. A businessman receives a harsh email from a client. He reads it at 9:07 a.m. His face flushes. He immediately types an aggressive reply. He hits send. The conflict escalates. For the next 6 hours, he replays the argument in his head. That evening, he drinks to calm down. His sleep is shallow. The next morning, he wakes up tired and irritable. One insult cost him 12 hours of physiological disturbance. Now imagine that repeated twice a week for 20 years. That is not personality. That is cumulative damage. Reset with me again. Inhale slowly. Hold. Exhale. Say it with me. I refuse to donate my health to someone else's immaturity. Again. I refuse to donate my health to someone else's immaturity. The Stoics practice something radical. The pause. Between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space is sovereignty. In that space is longevity. Anger feels strong in the moment because it releases energy. But strength is not measured by volume. It is measured by control. Seneca wrote, "Anger, if not restrained, is frequently more harmful to us than the injury that provokes it." Read that again mentally. More harmful than the injury. So the insult is small. The reaction is catastrophic. Here is something even more shocking. Research from the American Psychological Association shows that individuals with high hostility traits have significantly higher mortality rates compared to those with emotional regulation skills. Emotional regulation is not weakness. It is survival intelligence. Now let us go deeper. Why does anger feel addictive? Because it gives you a false sense of moral superiority. When someone offends you, anger whispers, "You are right, they are wrong, you must correct this." But Stoicism asks a harder question. Is being right worth being unwell? Imagine reaching the end of your life, having won every argument but lost your peace. Marcus also wrote, "How much more grievous are the consequences of anger than the causes of it?" He saw this clearly. The cause is small, the consequence is massive. Pause again. Slow breath. Say this. I choose strength over reaction. The Stoic method to handle insults has 3 steps. Step 1. Label the event accurately. Not "this is disrespect." Instead say, "This is a sound. This is a message. This is a behavior." When you remove interpretation, you reduce intensity. Step 2. Ask, is this within my control? Their behavior is not. Your response is. Step 3. Ask, will this matter in 5 years? Most insults expire in 5 days. Let me share a practical exercise for the next week. Whenever you feel anger rising, do not speak for 10 seconds. Count slowly, 10 heartbeats. This interrupts the automatic stress response. Studies show that even brief delays can significantly reduce escalation. During those 10 seconds, breathe in for 4 seconds, hold for 4, exhale for 6. Longer exhales activate the parasympathetic nervous system, lowering heart rate and blood pressure. This is not mystical, it is physiological regulation. Now imagine this compounded over decades. A man who reacts instantly versus a man who pauses consistently. Which one has fewer hypertension issues? Which one has fewer broken relationships? Which one sleeps better? Longevity is not a single heroic action. It is repeated restraint. There is another uncomfortable layer. Sometimes we stay angry because it gives us identity. I am the one who does not tolerate disrespect. But Stoicism asks, are you disciplined or are you reactive? Because discipline is silent, reactivity is loud. Marcus ruled during the Antonine Plague, one of the deadliest pandemics in Roman history. Imagine the pressure. Imagine the criticism. Yet his journal entries are not filled with rage. They are filled with reminders to himself to remain just and rational. He understood something modern culture forgets. Your nervous system does not know the difference between a battlefield and a Twitter argument. It reacts the same way. So when you argue online for hours, your body believes it survived a threat. How many artificial battles are you fighting every week? Pause, breathe, say it clearly. Not every attack deserves my energy. Again, not every attack deserves my energy. One final perspective. If you truly want to extend your life, think long-term. Chronic anger increases systemic inflammation. Inflammation is linked to cardiovascular disease, metabolic disorders, cognitive decline. So when you hold grudges for years, you are not punishing them. You are aging yourself. Forgiveness is not approval. It is release. You do not forgive because they deserve it. You forgive because you deserve peace, and peace is biologically protective. So here is your challenge. For the next 30 days, practice this rule. No immediate reactions to provocation. Every response waits 10 breaths. Every insult is evaluated through the lens of 5 years. Every conflict begins with calm tone. You may feel weaker at first. That is ego withdrawal. Let it detox. But over time, you will feel something new. Control, and control reduces chaos. Chaos accelerates aging. Control slows it. This lesson alone can save you from thousands of hours of stress. But there is something even more subtle stealing years from your life. Desire, endless wanting, comparison, restlessness. And in the next lesson, we confront the hidden exhaustion of chasing more. Before we continue, commit internally. Say it now. My peace is not for sale. If this lesson struck you, subscribe to Making Life Better. This channel is not about motivation. It is about mastery. Prepare yourself. The next lesson will challenge your attachment to wanting. Lesson 3. Desire less and you will feel younger. Let me ask you something uncomfortable. When was the last time you felt satisfied without needing something more? Not more money, not more recognition, not more validation, just enough. If you cannot remember, that is not because you are ambitious. It is because you are trapped. Marcus Aurelius ruled the most powerful empire on earth. Yet he wrote in his private journal, "Very little is needed to make a happy life. It is all within yourself." Imagine that. A man who could command armies, who had access to wealth beyond imagination, reminding himself that happiness required very little. Now compare that to modern life. We wake up wanting more. We scroll and see people with more. We work to get more. We stay awake thinking about more. And here is the biological cost. Chronic dissatisfaction activates the same stress pathways as physical threat. Studies in behavioral medicine show that people who live in constant comparison and material striving experience higher cortisol levels and poorer sleep quality. Poor sleep alone is linked to increased risk of obesity, heart disease, depression, and reduced life expectancy. So desire is not just philosophical, it is physiological. Pause with me. Slow breath in, slow breath out. Say this quietly. Wanting less is strength. Again, wanting less is strength. Most people believe desire drives progress, and to some degree that is true. But uncontrolled desire drives exhaustion. The Stoics did not reject ambition. They rejected slavery to it. Here is the difference. Ambition says, I will work toward excellence. Slavery says, I cannot be calm until I achieve this. The second one ages you. Let me tell you a story. A corporate executive spends 15 years chasing promotion after promotion. Each time he reaches a milestone, the satisfaction lasts 3 weeks. Then he sets a higher target. His stress increases, his sleep shortens, his family barely sees him. At 52, he finally reaches the title he wanted at 35. He celebrates for one night. Then he feels empty. Now imagine he had practiced Stoic detachment. Working hard, yes, but never tying his identity to outcome. Never postponing peace until success. Over decades, that internal shift changes everything. Now reset. Inhale slowly, hold. Exhale longer. Say it with me. Peace now, not later. Because most people delay peace. I will relax when I will be happy, when I will feel secure, when that sentence structure is a life trap. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself constantly that the present moment is sufficient. Confine yourself to the present. He understood something neuroscience now confirms. The brain is wired to chase novelty and reward. Dopamine spikes when we anticipate something new. But constant dopamine chasing leads to desensitization. The more you chase, the less you feel. That is why people need bigger achievements to feel the same excitement. That is not growth, that is escalation. And escalation is exhausting. Modern research shows that individuals who practice gratitude and contentment have lower inflammation markers and improved cardiovascular profiles. Contentment literally reduces stress biomarkers. Now imagine 30 years of restless comparison versus 30 years of disciplined contentment. Which version of you ages slower? Which version has fewer anxiety disorders? Which version has deeper relationships? Here is where Stoicism becomes radical. The practice of voluntary discomfort. Sometimes intentionally choose less. Eat a simpler meal. Take a cold shower. Wear something modest. Spend a day without unnecessary purchases. Why? Because when you prove to yourself that you can live with less, desire loses its power over you. Seneca wrote, "He is most powerful who has power over himself." And nothing tests self-power like wanting. Pause again. Breathe. Say it clearly, I own my desires. Most people are owned by them. Here is another practical exercise. For the next week, every time you want to buy something non-essential, wait 48 hours. Observe the urge. Do not suppress it. Study it. Notice how it rises, peaks, fades. This builds emotional muscle. Impulse control is linked strongly with long-term success and health outcomes. The famous Stanford marshmallow experiment showed that children who delayed gratification had better life outcomes decades later. That is not coincidence. It is neural training. Now imagine applying that daily for 20 years. Less impulsive spending, less impulsive eating, less impulsive anger, less impulsive distraction. Desire, when unchecked, fuels addiction. Addiction accelerates aging. Alcohol abuse increases mortality risk dramatically. Overeating contributes to metabolic syndrome. Digital addiction disrupts circadian rhythm. And at the core of all of these is unexamined desire. Marcus wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." That includes your cravings. But here is the subtle layer. Desire is often disguised fear. Fear of not being enough. Fear of falling behind. Fear of insignificance. When you chase constantly, you are trying to outrun insecurity. But insecurity does not tire. Only you do. So what is the Stoic alternative? Internal metrics. Instead of measuring success by what you accumulate, measure by who you become. Did I act with integrity? Did I remain disciplined? Did I stay calm under pressure? Those metrics do not require external validation, and they are sustainable. Pause again. Slow breath. Say this. Enough is a decision, because it is. Contentment is not laziness. It is strategic conservation of life energy. People burn out because they confuse stimulation with meaning. The Stoics focused on virtue, not applause. Now imagine being 70 years old. Version 1. You chased every opportunity, compared constantly, felt restless even in success. Version 2. You pursued excellence but practiced daily sufficiency. Which one feels younger? Which one sleeps peacefully? Which one looks back without regret? There is a powerful paradox. When you desire less, you often perform better. Because anxiety drops, focus sharpens, energy stabilizes, and stable energy extends life. Studies in positive psychology show that individuals with intrinsic motivation, purpose-driven rather than reward-driven, have higher well-being and resilience. Stoicism is intrinsic motivation. Virtue for its own sake, discipline for its own growth, peace for its own clarity. Now here is your challenge. For the next 30 days, practice daily sufficiency. Every morning say, today I will not need more to feel whole. Every evening ask, did I chase or did I choose? Reduce one unnecessary desire this week. one subscription, one comparison trigger, one impulsive habit. Observe what happens to your stress levels. Observe your sleep. Observe your clarity. You may feel withdrawal. That is normal. Desire detox feels uncomfortable at first. But beyond that discomfort lies something rare. Lightness. And lightness feels young. You do not add 15 years by accumulating more. You add 15 years by removing what drains you. And desire drains more people than disease. But there is something even deeper than desire. Something that silently exhausts people who seem successful on the outside. Resistance to reality. In the next lesson, we confront the most exhausting habit of all: fighting what already is. Before we move forward, commit internally. Say it now. I have enough. If this lesson shifted your perspective, subscribe to Making Life Better. This is not about giving up ambition. It is about mastering it. Prepare yourself. The next lesson will challenge your relationship with control itself. Lesson 4. Treat your body as a tool, not a decoration. Let me ask you a hard question. Do you treat your body as an ally or as a display case? Most people treat their body like a product, something to improve, compare, decorate, show. But Marcus Aurelius did not see the body as an ornament. He saw it as an instrument for duty, an instrument for service, an instrument for endurance. And when you treat your body as a tool instead of a decoration, everything changes, including how long you live. Pause for a moment. Slow breath in, slow breath out. Say this with me. My body is my responsibility. Again, my body is my responsibility. Modern medicine confirms something the Stoics practice instinctively. Lifestyle accounts for a massive percentage of longevity outcomes. According to the World Health Organization, non-communicable diseases, heart disease, diabetes, stroke account for over 70% of global deaths. Most of them are influenced heavily by lifestyle behavior. Not fate, not luck. Behavior. And behavior is philosophy in motion. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." Most people apply that quote to career or obstacles. Few apply it to discipline. You are tired. That is the impediment. You do not want to exercise. That is the impediment. You crave comfort food after stress. That is the impediment. And that is precisely where character is built. Here is something uncomfortable. The body keeps score. Every night you sacrifice sleep for scrolling. Every meal you use as emotional sedation. Every drink you use to numb stress. Your body does not argue, it records. Sleep deprivation alone increases mortality risk significantly. Studies show that consistently sleeping fewer than 6 hours per night increases the risk of cardiovascular disease and metabolic dysfunction. Chronic sleep deprivation affects cognitive performance equivalent to alcohol impairment. Now imagine 30 years of just one more episode. Reset with me. Inhale slowly. Hold. Exhale longer. Say this. Rest is strength, because it is. The Stoics believed in moderation, not indulgence. Not punishment either. Moderation. Your body's not a toy to exhaust. It is armor. And armor must be maintained. Let me tell you about two men. Both are 45 years old. Both work demanding jobs. The first uses stress as justification for neglect. I deserve comfort. Late night drinking, fast food, minimal movement. His blood pressure rises gradually. His waistline expands. His sleep worsens. He tells himself he will fix it later. The second man is equally stressed. But he has a rule. No matter what, he moves daily. Even 20 minutes. No matter what, he protects sleep. No matter what, he eats for fuel first, pleasure second. 20 years later, the difference is dramatic. One feels older than his age. The other feels stable, alert, capable. That difference began in daily discipline. Pause again. Slow breath. Say it clearly. Discipline is self-respect, because neglect is not rebellion. It is slow decay. Here is where Stoicism cuts deep. The body should not control the mind. The mind should guide the body. But modern culture reverses that. You are tired, skip discipline. You are stressed, indulge. You are bored, consume. That pattern shortens years. Research on blue zones regions where people live significantly longer reveals common patterns. Moderate diet, regular movement, strong social ties, purpose-driven life. Notice what is absent: obsession with aesthetics. Longevity is not about looking young. It is about functioning well. Marcus did not have protein powders or biohacking technology, but he had restraint, and restraint is timeless. Here is a practical Stoic framework for the body. First, sleep is sacred. Minimum 7 hours when possible. Create a digital sunset, no screens, 1 hour before bed. Your nervous system needs transition, not stimulation. Second, move daily, not extreme workouts, consistency. Walking alone has been shown to significantly reduce cardiovascular risk and improve mood regulation. Third, eat to fuel function. Ask before eating, is this strengthening me or sedating me? Fourth, reduce numbing behaviors. Alcohol, excessive sugar, constant media. They are often disguised as relief but operate as long-term drains. Reset again. Inhale deeply. Exhale slowly. Say with me, I train for the long game. Because that is what this is, the long game. Many people destroy their health in pursuit of money, then spend their money trying to recover health. Stoicism prevents that cycle. It reminds you that your body is the vehicle through which you practice virtue. Without health, your discipline weakens. Without discipline, your health declines. It is a feedback loop. Here is another uncomfortable truth. Stress without physical release becomes stored tension. Exercise is not about aesthetics. It is about stress regulation. Movement burns excess stress hormones. Sedentary lifestyles amplify stress effects. So when you skip movement repeatedly, you are not saving energy. You are storing stress. Marcus faced war, plague, betrayal, yet he remained steady. Why? Because discipline in small areas builds resilience in large ones. If you cannot master your eating habits, how will you master your reactions? If you cannot protect your sleep, how will you protect your peace? Pause again. Breathe. Say this: I am not fragile, because you are not. But fragility grows when neglected. Here is your 30-day Stoic body challenge. No heroic overhauls. Just 4 commitments. Move daily, even briefly. Sleep with intention. Eat consciously. Eliminate one numbing habit. Track it, not obsessively, consistently. Observe your energy levels. Observe your clarity. Observe your patience. Within weeks, you will feel younger, not because of miracle supplements, but because inflammation decreases, stress stabilizes, blood sugar balances, hormones regulate. Longevity is not mystical. It is disciplined biology. And here is the deeper layer. When you treat your body as a tool, you respect yourself differently. That self-respect influences your decisions. That influences your relationships. That influences your career. Everything connects. You do not extend life only by avoiding death. You extend it by enhancing vitality. But there is something even more draining than physical neglect: fighting reality itself. You can have perfect sleep and still age rapidly if you resist what cannot be changed. And in the next lesson, we confront the most exhausting habit of all: arguing with life. Before we continue, commit to one action today. Just one. Walk. Sleep earlier. Drink water instead of alcohol. Small actions compound. If this lesson challenged you, subscribe to Making Life Better. This is not about looking impressive. It is about becoming durable. Prepare yourself. The next lesson will test your relationship with control at a deeper level than you expect. Lesson 5. Accept what you cannot change, and your heart will thank you. There is one habit that drains more life than poor sleep, more energy than overwork, and more peace than conflict: arguing with reality. Think about this carefully. How many times this week have you mentally fought something that already happened? A delay, a mistake, a comment, a loss, a decision you cannot reverse. Now notice what happens in your body when you replay it. Jaw tightens, chest compresses, breath shortens, thoughts spiral. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." But most people live backwards. They attempt to control outside events, and lose control of their mind. Pause with me. Slow breath in, slow breath out. Say this clearly: I do not fight what already is. Again, I do not fight what already is. This is not passivity, it is intelligence. Modern stress research shows that perceived lack of control dramatically increases stress hormone output. But here's the paradox: attempting to control what is uncontrollable creates exactly that perception of helplessness. The Stoic solution is simple but radical. Separate what is within your control from what is not. Not emotionally, logically. You cannot control the weather. You cannot control another person's opinion. You cannot control past events. You cannot control sudden misfortune, but you can control response. And that difference determines how long you carry stress. Let me give you a real-world example. A woman loses her job unexpectedly. Two paths unfold. Path 1. She spends months replaying injustice. She resents management. She rehashes conversations. She loses sleep. She experiences chronic stress. Her immune system weakens. Path 2. She allows herself disappointment, but not resistance. She asks, what does this moment demand from me? She updates her resume. She reaches out to contacts. She exercises to regulate stress. She accepts what happened and redirects energy. The event is identical. The biological consequence is not. Reset. Inhale slowly. Hold. Exhale longer. Say it with me. Acceptance is strength, because it is. Resistance creates internal friction. Friction produces heat. Heat burns systems over time. Long-term resentment is linked to higher levels of inflammatory markers. Chronic stress increases the likelihood of cardiovascular disease. People who struggle with rumination have higher risk of anxiety and depression. Rumination is mental resistance. Marcus understood something profound. He wrote, "If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it." Notice he did not say, "If it is unfair, destroy yourself emotionally." Reality does not negotiate, but your response does. Here is where many misunderstand Stoicism. Acceptance does not mean approval, it means clarity. If a storm hits, arguing with the storm does not stop the rain, but preparing for it might save your home. Pause again. Slow breath. Say this: energy flows where attention goes. If your attention lives in the past, your energy drains there. If your attention lives in what you cannot control, your nervous system remains activated. Chronic activation equals accelerated aging. There is research showing that chronic stress can accelerate biological aging markers, including telomere shortening. Telomeres protect your DNA. When they shorten excessively, cellular aging speeds up. Now imagine years of mental resistance, not catastrophic events. Daily irritation, daily frustration. Daily, this should not be happening. It compounds. Stoicism is not about becoming emotionless. It is about becoming efficient. Why waste energy on the unchangeable? Let me challenge you with a scenario. You are stuck in traffic, late for an important meeting. Option 1. You rage internally. You grip the wheel. You curse. Your heart rate spikes. You arrive agitated. Option 2. You accept the delay immediately. You use the time to breathe. Maybe listen to something calming. You arrive composed. The arrival time is identical. The physiological cost is not. This is what Stoics mastered. Immediate acceptance. Not delayed acceptance after suffering. Immediate. Pause. Breathe. Say it with me. I respond. I do not react. Now here is the deeper layer. Sometimes resistance feels productive. You think, if I stay upset, it proves I care. But staying upset proves nothing. Action proves care, and action requires clarity. Marcus ruled during the Antonine Plague. Imagine watching thousands die. Imagine the criticism, the fear, the chaos. Yet his journal reads like a calm internal coach, not a raging victim. Why? Because he understood that resisting reality wastes precious life. Life is finite. Every hour spent fighting the inevitable is an hour removed from constructive action. Here is a practical Stoic exercise. At the end of each day, write down 3 events that frustrated you, then categorize them: within my control, outside my control. For the ones outside your control, Write a single sentence. Release. For the ones within your control, write one corrective action. This trains mental separation. Mental separation reduces stress load. Reduced stress load preserves health. Here is another uncomfortable truth. Many people resist reality because it threatens identity. Divorce, job loss, financial setback, public embarrassment. You resist because you think it defines you. But Stoicism says identity is built through response, not circumstance. Acceptance frees identity. Resistance traps it. Reset again. Inhale slowly, exhale fully. Say this clearly. Reality is neutral. My interpretation is optional. That sentence alone can reduce half of your daily stress. You cannot prevent every negative event, but you can prevent doubling the damage through resistance. This lesson alone can reclaim years lost to rumination. But there is something else quietly stealing life. Time blindness. Acting as if you have unlimited days. And in the next lesson, we confront the Stoic practice that shocks people into urgency negative visualization. Before we move forward, choose one situation you have been resisting. Mentally say, it happened. Now I act. If this lesson resonates, subscribe to Making Life Better. This channel is not about escaping hardship. It is about mastering it. Prepare yourself. The next lesson will change how you see time itself. Lesson 6. Practice negative visualization and you will waste less time. Let me say something that may sound dark at first. One of the most powerful ways to extend your life is to remember that you will lose it. Most people live as if time is infinite. They delay apologies. They postpone discipline. They waste evenings. They scroll away hours. And they assume tomorrow will always be there. Marcus Aurelius wrote a sentence that still shakes people today. You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think. Pause. Let that sink in. You could leave life right now, not in 40 years, not when you are ready. Now, slow breath in, slow breath out. Say this quietly. Time is not guaranteed. Again, time is not guaranteed. This Stoic practice is called negative visualization or premeditatio malorum. It means imagining loss before it happens, not to create fear, not to create anxiety, but to create clarity. Modern psychology calls something similar mortality salience. Studies show that when individuals are reminded of their mortality and ols are reminded of their mortality in a healthy, reflective way, they often make better decisions. They prioritize relationships. They reduce trivial conflict. They pursue meaningful goals. They procrastinate less. When you remember that time is limited, your brain recalibrates what matters. Now imagine two lives. One person lives with constant distraction. He assumes he has decades to fix habits. He avoids difficult conversations. He delays health changes. He says, I will start next year. Another person practices negative visualization daily. He reminds himself gently that his days are numbered, not in panic and awareness. He tells loved ones he appreciates them. He trains his body now. He handles conflicts quickly. He wastes less time arguing online. Over 30 years, who lives more fully? And who probably lives longer? Because wasted time often equals unhealthy choices. Reset. Inhale slowly. Hold. Exhale longer. Say it with me. I do not postpone living. Again, I do not postpone living. One of the greatest longevity traps is procrastination. Studies show that chronic procrastinators experience higher stress levels and worse health outcomes. They delay medical appointments. They delay lifestyle changes. They delay confronting problems. Delay compounds risk. Marcus did not have modern mortality statistics, but he saw death constantly. War, plague, assassination. Yet instead of becoming anxious, he became focused. He wrote, do not act as if you were going to live 10,000 years. That sentence alone can eliminate half of your trivial habits. How many arguments would you skip if you remembered your time was limited? How many resentments would you release? How many excuses would disappear? Now here is the nuance. Negative visualization is not imagining catastrophe obsessively. It is briefly acknowledging impermanence to sharpen gratitude. For example, imagine waking up tomorrow and losing your health. Now open your eyes, you still have it. That shift creates gratitude. Gratitude reduces stress. Reduced stress improves sleep. Improved sleep extends lifespan. This is not poetic exaggeration. Research shows that regular gratitude practices improve immune function and reduce inflammation markers. Negative visualization creates gratitude through contrast. Another example, imagine losing someone you love. Feel the weight of that. Now realize they are still here. How would you treat them today? Would you argue about something trivial? Would you stay distant out of pride? Or would you soften? Relationships strongly correlate with longevity. The Harvard study of adult development, one of the longest-running studies on human happiness and health, concluded that strong relationships are one of the most powerful predictors of long-term well-being. Negative visualization strengthens relationships by eliminating taken-for-granted behavior. Reset again. Slow breath. Say this, I cherish what I have. Because most people do not. They chase what is missing. They ignore what is present. This constant chasing fuels stress, and stress ages you. Here is a practical Stoic exercise. Each morning for the next 30 days, spend 60 seconds imagining losing one comfort. Not dramatically, just gently. Your home, your job, your health, your partner. Then say, today I will treat this as temporary and precious. That sentence changes behavior. Behavior changes biology. Let me tell you something uncomfortable. Many people only change when crisis forces them. Heart attack, divorce, bankruptcy. Stoicism creates artificial awareness of fragility, so you do not need crisis to wake up. That is powerful. Marcus lived in constant awareness of mortality, yet his writing is calm. Why? Because acceptance of death reduces fear of it, and fear is exhausting. People who fear death excessively often avoid thinking about time, which leads to unconscious waste. Negative visualization makes time visible. Visible time becomes valuable. Valuable time becomes protected. Protected time becomes disciplined. Disciplined life becomes longer and deeper. Now imagine living the next decade as if each year matters deeply. Less scrolling, more walking, less resentment, more gratitude, less delay, more action. Which version of you ages slower? Which version experiences fewer stress spikes? Which version lies down at night satisfied? Pause. Breathe. Say it clearly. Today matters. Again, today matters. When you practice this consistently, trivial drama loses power over you. You stop reacting impulsively. You start choosing intentionally. Intentional living reduces chaos. Chaos accelerates aging. Now here's the final layer. Negative visualization also reduces fear of loss itself. When you mentally rehearse impermanence, you become emotionally resilient. Resilience reduces anxiety. Lower anxiety improves health. It is a psychological vaccine. You expose yourself to small doses of reality to build strength. That strength protects your nervous system, and protected nervous systems live longer. But there is another factor even more subtle than wasted time: the people around you. Environment, energy absorption. In the next lesson, we confront the power of your circle and how it silently determines your longevity. Before we move forward, commit to this practice tomorrow morning. 60 seconds. Imagine loss, then choose gratitude. If this lesson awakened urgency in you, subscribe to Making Life Better. This channel is not about fear, it is about awareness. Prepare yourself. The next lesson may force you to rethink who you allow into your life. Lesson 7. Choose your circle like you choose your diet. You can eat perfectly, you can sleep well, you can exercise daily, and still age faster than you should. Why? Because of the people you allow into your nervous system. Read that again internally. The people you allow into your nervous system. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts. But thoughts do not form in isolation. They are influenced, shaped, triggered by the environment around you. And people are the most powerful environment you will ever experience." Pause with me. Slow breath in, slow breath out. Say this clearly. Not everyone deserves access to my peace. Again. Not everyone deserves access to my peace. There is strong research showing that emotional contagion is real. Your stress levels can mirror the stress levels of those around you. Your habits shift to match your social circle. Your sleep patterns, your eating behaviors, even your ambition align with your environment over time. The famous Framingham Heart study showed that obesity, smoking, and even happiness spread through social networks. Not metaphorically, literally. If your circle normalizes chaos, you normalize chaos. If your circle normalizes discipline, you normalize discipline. Now imagine the compounding effect over 20 years. Two men start at the same age. One surrounds himself with people who complain constantly, who gossip, who drink heavily every weekend, who criticize others but rarely improve themselves. The other surrounds himself with people who value growth, who speak calmly, who take responsibility, who protect their health. Same genetics, same city, different circles. 20 years later, their physiology reflects their environment. Reset. Inhale slowly, exhale fully. Say it with me. Environment shapes destiny. Because it does. The Stoics understood this deeply. While they believed in internal control, they were not naive about influence. Seneca warned about the dangers of corrupt company. Associate with people who are likely to improve you. Notice that word, improve. Not entertain, not validate, improve. Modern stress research shows that chronic interpersonal conflict significantly increases cardiovascular risk. Long-term exposure to toxic relationships elevates cortisol and inflammatory markers. Inflammation again, the silent accelerator of aging. How many unnecessary arguments are you exposed to weekly? How much gossip enters your ears? How often do you leave conversations feeling drained instead of strengthened? Pause. Breathe. Say this. Energy is limited. Again. Energy is limited. Most people guard their money more carefully than their attention. But attention is biological. What you repeatedly hear shapes your mental narrative. If you constantly hear cynicism, you become cynical. If you constantly hear ambition, you become ambitious. If you constantly hear victimhood, you adopt it unconsciously. Marcus Aurelius ruled an empire filled with political intrigue. He could not avoid people entirely, but he built an inner citadel, a mental fortress that filtered influence. You must do the same. Now here is a hard truth. Sometimes the most draining influences are subtle. A friend who constantly criticizes your discipline, a partner who mocks your self-improvement, a colleague who spreads negativity daily. You may call it loyalty to stay, but loyalty without boundaries is self-harm. Reset again. Inhale slowly. Hold. Exhale longer. Say clearly, I choose influence wisely, because influence is invisible until it becomes identity. There is fascinating research in behavioral psychology showing that habits are strongly shaped by peer behavior. If your closest friends are sedentary, your probability of being sedentary increases. If your friends value health, your compliance with health behaviors improves dramatically. It is not about willpower, it is about exposure. And exposure accumulates. Now imagine 30 years of exposure to pessimism versus 30 years of exposure to discipline. Which nervous system is calmer? Which heart is healthier? Which mind is sharper? There is another layer. Toxic dynamics create constant microstress, not dramatic fights, small tensions, sarcasm, passive aggression, subtle competition. Microstress repeated daily equals macro damage over decades. This is how many people age emotionally, not from catastrophe, from constant low-grade tension. The Stoic solution is not isolation, it is selective proximity. You do not need hundreds of connections, you need aligned ones. Pause, slow breath. Say it clearly, quality over quantity. Marcus valued virtue above popularity. He did not seek approval from everyone. He sought alignment with principle. Ask yourself honestly, who in my life strengthens my discipline? Who weakens it? Who drains my energy consistently? Who leaves me sharper, calmer, better? You cannot extend your life if your environment constantly triggers stress. Here is a practical Stoic audit. For the next 7 days, observe your energy after every significant interaction. After each conversation, ask, energized or drained? Do not judge. Observe. Patterns will reveal themselves. Then make small adjustments. Less exposure, clearer boundaries, more time with growth-oriented individuals. It does not need to be dramatic, but it must be intentional. Reset. Inhale. Exhale. Say this: my peace is non-negotiable. Because if you negotiate peace repeatedly, you pay with health. The Harvard study of adult development found that high-quality relationships are one of the strongest predictors of long-term well-being and life satisfaction. Not quantity, quality. And quality requires choice. Marcus faced betrayal within his own circle, yet he constantly reminded himself not to become bitter. Influence does not mean absorption, but exposure still matters. If you place yourself in chaos long enough, your nervous system adapts to chaos as normal. And chronic chaos shortens years. Here is your challenge. Identify one relationship that consistently increases your stress unnecessarily. Have one honest conversation, or create one boundary, or reduce exposure. Simultaneously, invest more time in one person who strengthens your growth. Longevity is not just about what you eat. It is about who you absorb. But there is one final lesson, the deepest one. Even if you master your morning, control anger, reduce desire, protect your body, accept reality, value time, and choose your circle wisely, none of it matters if you do not live for something higher. In the final lesson, we confront the ultimate Stoic principle, virtue. Because living longer without living meaningfully is not victory. Before we move forward, commit to protecting your environment. If this lesson resonated, subscribe to Making Life Better. This is not about cutting people off recklessly. It is about protecting your biology and your destiny. Prepare yourself. The final lesson will redefine what it means to truly extend your life. Lesson 8. Live for virtue, and you gain the years you already have. Imagine living to 90 years old and realizing you were absent for most of it. Not physically absent, mentally absent, distracted, reactive, chasing, resisting, comparing, fighting. Many people extend their lifespan, but never deepen their life. Stoicism does something more radical. It does not only aim to add years, it aims to add weight to each year. Marcus Aurelius ruled during war, plague, betrayal, political chaos, and yet his private writings are not filled with complaints. They are filled with reminders to live with virtue. He wrote, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one." Pause, let that settle. Be one. Slow breath in, slow breath out. Say this quietly: my character defines my life. Again, my character defines my life. Here is the uncomfortable truth. You can optimize sleep. You can reduce anger. You can master discipline. But if you live without virtue, courage, justice, self-control, wisdom, you may survive long, but you will not live deeply. And depth is what makes time feel expansive. Research in psychology shows that people who live with a strong sense of purpose have lower mortality risk. Studies published in JAMA Network Open found that individuals with a strong life purpose live significantly longer on average than those without. Purpose regulates stress. Purpose stabilizes behavior. Purpose strengthens resilience. And Stoicism defines purpose as living according to virtue, not pleasure, not applause, not accumulation. Virtue. Pause again. Inhale slowly. Exhale fully. Say it clearly. I choose character over comfort. Because comfort fades. Character compounds. Marcus Aurelius did not control the length of his life, but he controlled the depth of his actions. He asked daily, was I just? Was I disciplined? Was I rational? Was I courageous? Imagine living 30 years measuring success by those questions. How many toxic decisions disappear? How many impulsive choices fade? How many regrets dissolve before they form? Virtue creates clarity. Clarity reduces chaos. Chaos accelerates aging. There is something biologically protective about integrity. When you act against your values repeatedly, cognitive dissonance increases stress. Chronic stress elevates cortisol, affects sleep, increases inflammation. Living inconsistently with your principles damages your nervous system. Integrity calms it. When your actions align with your values, your brain experiences less internal conflict. Less conflict equals less stress. Less stress equals longevity. Reset. Slow breath. Say this: I live in alignment. Most people chase validation from others. Stoicism redirects validation inward. You do not need applause if you have integrity, and integrity is stabilizing. Imagine waking each day knowing that regardless of outcome, you acted with virtue yesterday. That produces peace. Peace reduces stress. Stress reduction preserves life. Now let me give you a scenario. A businessman is offered a deal that would significantly increase his income, but requires ethical compromise. Path 1, he accepts. Gains money, loses sleep, constantly looks over his shoulder. Internal tension builds. Path 2, he refuses, keeps integrity, income grows slower, but his nervous system remains calm. 10 years later, which man looks younger? Which man feels lighter? Virtue protects the nervous system. Marcus wrote, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts. Add to that, and with the color of its actions." If you repeatedly act dishonestly, your nervous system remains on alert. If you repeatedly act courageously and justly, confidence stabilizes you. There is another layer. Virtue creates meaning. Meaning buffers suffering. Research from Viktor Frankl's work in modern existential psychology confirms that individuals with meaning tolerate stress better and recover faster from trauma. Meaning regulates the mind, and the mind regulates the body. Now imagine aging with meaning versus aging with emptiness. One feels purposeful, the other feels hollow. Longevity without meaning feels heavy. Longevity with virtue feels expansive. Pause, breathe. Say this clearly: I build a life I respect, because self-respect is the foundation of calm. Many people try to extend life by optimizing external factors, but Stoicism optimizes the internal foundation. Virtue influences every previous lesson. You guard your morning because discipline matters. You control anger because justice matters. You reduce desire because wisdom matters. You protect your body because responsibility matters. You accept reality because rationality matters. You value time because mortality matters. You choose your circle because character matters. Virtue ties them all together. Without it, longevity is hollow. With it, even fewer years feel complete. Here is your final exercise. Each night for the next 30 days, ask yourself 3 questions. Where did I act with courage? Where did I act with restraint? Where can I improve tomorrow? No judgment, just awareness. That awareness builds integrity. Integrity builds peace. Peace extends life. Now let me tell you something quietly. Adding 15 years is not guaranteed, but removing internal chaos often results in a longer, healthier, more stable life. And even if it does not add years numerically, it adds years experientially, because a calm mind experiences time differently. When you live intentionally, days stretch. When you live reactively, days disappear. Marcus did not fear death. He feared wasted life, and that is the final Stoic truth. You do not extend life by clinging to it. You extend life by living it well. Pause, slow breath in, slow breath out. Say it clearly: I will not waste my years. Again, I will not waste my years. Now listen carefully. You have just walked through 8 Stoic life lessons that can transform not only how long you live, but how deeply you live. Guard your morning. Refuse to donate years to anger. Desire less. Protect your body. Accept reality. Remember mortality. Choose your circle. Live for virtue. One decision at a time. If this message moved you, do not let it dissolve into passive inspiration. Subscribe to Making Life Better. This channel is not motivation. It is mental training. And now comment the word armor if you are choosing discipline over chaos, because your life is not measured only in years. It is measured in strength. If this hit you, that is your wake-up call. Most people will watch this, feel inspired for 5 minutes, and then return to stress, distraction, and emotional weakness. But you are still here, and that means something inside you wants strength, longevity, and control. 15 extra years is not just time. It is more mornings, more chances, more moments with the people you love. Discipline is not built overnight. It is built daily through one thought, one reaction, one decision at a time. And that is exactly what we practice here. If you are serious about upgrading your life instead of just talking about it, subscribe to Making Life Better. This channel is not about motivation, it is about transformation. Comment the word longevity if you are choosing strength over stress, and remember the Stoics did not wait for a better world, they built a stronger mind.